All right, you guys, welcome to the Web4 Roundtable. Feel free to leave a comment in the live feed if you are tuning in today to the broadcast. Let me know if the audio sounds great. I hope everyone's doing well on this amazing Tuesday. Fortunately, we did not have premium on our IPEX account here today, yesterday. And that's why we weren't able to host our live stream yesterday. And then, of course, on what was it, Friday, and then we didn't have it for like 3 or 4 days. So apologies on that end. We are going to change some things around here as well. There's some just new trends, new things that I'm identifying, new ways to affect the ecosystem. I'm not going to touch on them too much. I think it's just more some personal alpha, but of course I'm going to continue to share as much alpha here for the Hedera ecosystem. But I have been talking about it. I do want to take this more cross chain, start bringing in more people into Hedera, understanding what Hedera is, right? I'm still a maxi essentially, but I do want people to understand that this ecosystem is much bigger than what Hedera is doing solely. But of course, I want to remain focused on our objective and what we're looking to do here in the ecosystem. I'm going to pull up my X account here. It looks like we do have premium once again. I did not know that you can't live stream without premium. And then I changed my name. I just removed HBAR. I added Web4. So if you guys aren't familiar, I'm going to create some graphics around the Web4 aspect. Obviously, our original show name when we first started was the Web3 Roundtable. So I think it's fitting to go back to it. So Web4 is basically looking at the actual mass adoption of Web3. So I'll create some graphics and touch on it in future shows. And of course, our sponsors. I do want to test this out. I do want to talk about it publicly as well and talk about it with the HBAR community. So do let me know what you guys think. And of course, if you haven't joined our X community for now, it is free, it is public. Feel free to join the Web4 trenches in the cross-chain trenches Monday through Friday with IPEX at 5 p.m. EST. So tap in. You guys know, those of you guys that have been tuning in actively, we've been hosting Monday through Friday shows since about September. We're coming up on a year. So there's some really cool things I want to start doing with the HBAR community as we get closer to our 1-year anniversary. Shout out to everyone tuning in here today. Don't forget to like and retweet, leave a comment if you find any of our content here of value. Here today, we have our space going on as well. So if you want to join us there, I just liked and retweeted it. And then, of course, what's happening here? Like and retweet the show as well, the live broadcast. Let's give away another 1,000 Karate Combats tokens. All you got to do is like and retweet the show, and then like and retweet the space, and you will be entered twice to earn some Karate Combat tokens. Let's give away 2,000. I'm feeling a little generous today. Let's give away 2,000. All you got to do is like and retweet the space, like and retweet the live stream as well to be entered. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to catch up on in terms of the Bitcoin conference, right? Bitcoin, they had a major conference over the weekend. The Karate Combat event, right, happened as well. So we weren't able to, basically right before the Karate Combat event occurred, that was when our premium went away. So we weren't even able to cover that live as well. So much happened over the weekend, and that's just the nature of Web3, right? Web4 now, right? We'll call it Web4, IPEX Web4. We're going to have some fun with that and talk about what mass adoption is going to look like moving forward. And like I said, if you're just tuning in, I'm going to start creating some graphics, some very specific things with our sponsors as well. So today, speaking of our sponsor today is Gilmore Estates. Go shoot them a follow at Gilmore Estates. You can see their accounts at the bottom. If you are in the live stream, if you are on the spaces, you should be able to see it in the title. Make sure to go shoot them a follow at Gilmore_Estates, and also check out their GC token as well, tokenizing real estate on Hedera. Massive shout out to them and all that they are doing here to support our ecosystem and supporting me as well with our shows here. Master shout out to you, brother. Massive appreciation your way as well. And appreciate everyone that has reached out for sponsorships as well. We are going to introduce another sponsor starting in August. So massive shout out to them as well. We'll introduce them properly very, very soon. And of course, we have a few others in the pipeline. So again, massive shout out to the HBAR community. We're continuing to grow our show here. We're not stopping. We're not slowing down. And yeah, I mean, we're gonna continue grinding for what this bull run is going to be bringing to us. So let's jump into, before we get into all the news and all the updates, I really want to re-up on the technical analysis of what is going on. I've been doing what I can to stay up to date on the over the weekends. I don't really check it too much, but I do check it just every 24 hours or so, unless I see some major outliers, of course, right? So give me a second. Let me pull up some charts. Let's see what is going on. Again, feel free to utilize that live chat feature as well. Let me know if you're tuning in here today, what you'd like me to cover as well on top. So we're going to be covering, of course, sorry, I'm just reading these ticker names here. What you guys like me to cover, right? Which tokens? What you guys think as well, right? Do you think that Q3, Q4, as I've been saying, will be around the top of the bull run, right, for this cycle? Will it be sometime next year, right? I'm really curious what you guys are thinking as well. So I'm going to share my thoughts. Let me pull up TradingView again. If you guys are in the spaces, you won't be able to see what I have pulled up here on the live stream, which is totally fine. But of course, if you want to jump on the live stream, you're more than welcome to do so as well. For some reason, on my other account, here, let's see if I can pull it up. There it is. Let me throw it up in the Jumbotron. Nope, that's not the Jumbotron. Give me 1 second. Let me throw it up in the Jumbotron really quick so you guys can follow along. If any of you in the spaces would like to jump over on the broadcast, feel free to do so. Now I'm going to start showing some charts, some TA, and then, of course, you guys all know how it goes. Once things really start picking up in Hedera, which I've been touching on pretty much every single show, when I think it is, what that's going to look like, right? I'm also going to be touching on DeFi tokens, right? And very specific ones, right? I won't touch on every single one. But of course, wow, we have some very interesting developments here since I last checked, since our last show. Yeah, a lot to talk about here. For Bitcoin, this is on the daily chart. But of course, once HBAR really starts to take off again, I do believe our DeFi will start to pump. So let me pull up Saucer Swap. I'll have to pull up, what is it called? Dex Screener in the future as well. I'll just throw Saucer Swap up here. And maybe, what is it? CoinGecko. What is it? Hold on. What is it called? I always blank on names. Gecko Terminal. There you go. Let me pull up Gecko Terminal. I think that's what I'll actually do instead of Saucer Swap. And I imagine that there are some new first timers here to our show. So massive shout out to you. Massive shout out to everyone that's actively tuning in here today. And of course, massive shout out to our sponsor here today at Gilmore Estates. Make sure to go shoot them a follow. All right. Let's get into some technical analysis. Welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome to the Web4 Roundtable. All right. So here's Bitcoin, right, on the weekly chart. All right. So give me 1 second, just kind of study it really quick before we jump into it. All right, so weekly again, as I said last week, essentially, right? We do have Bitcoin. The blue line is above the orange, right? That's pretty bullish. We're seeing still some more consolidation. Let's see. We actually saw. So last time we spoke, right? Bitcoin went all the way up to about 70K, right? And last time we spoke, it was about the low 60s, right? It was like 63K last time we spoke. So a few days going into the week, right? This week is just starting, so we're kind of closing around the 68 range. Absolutely crazy, right? And we talked about this, right? Price action can go anywhere within this channel until we have a breakout above the 73 range, or if we have a breakdown between about 50 to 53,000, right? So I'm not really going to get too excited or too concerned until we see either one of those. I've been saying publicly, right? I think it'll break 73 first, right? I want to see that happen, but I do believe that'll be near the top, right? So before I get into further TA, I'm just going to lay out what I shared in our alpha chat. Again, if you're not in our alpha chat for some reason, do let me know. Shoot me a DM right now. Shoot me a DM after the show to get involved with what we're doing. All right. So over the weekend, I shared, right? I listened to the Bitcoin conference and I heard Trump talking about, right? I don't care if you're voting for Trump or who's voting for what, right? That's not the point of me mentioning this. What I am going to share is though Trump was very bullish on like saying, "Hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z after a certain amount of time, right? I want to institute regulations, right? We're gonna have more clarity. We're gonna buy a bunch of Bitcoin, right? Pretty fast, right? And regardless if he does that, right? That's not the point. The point is when you understand that this cycle follows the news, it follows the tops, right? Like whenever someone makes an announcement, I'm not going to name names. Like, there's no point in doing that, but just study very closely who's making announcements, when they're making them. Does that signal a potential top? Because you have to essentially, if you're making an announcement, right? And chances are you kind of have to one up yourself to get people even more excited, right? That's just kind of how the psychology of these markets are working, right? And so here's a perfect example, right? Before we go back to Bitcoin, Dogecoin, right? With Elon Musk coming on at SNL, a lot of you guys might know, a lot of you guys might remember, right? If you were here during that time, um, Dogecoin went to like 90 billion market cap, right? Absolutely crazy. It was about 3 years ago. If you don't know, I'll kind of re-explain it here. But how can you one up Elon Musk going on SNL and like talking to millions of people, right? Like, how do you one up that? And I mean, send some Dogecoins to the moon or something, right? And blow it up and take a video. Like, I don't know, right? I'm being sarcastic at this point, but you guys kind of understand what I mean, right? Like, it's very hard to one up certain things when it comes to the news, right? And especially if a token, right? Like if Elon Musk goes on SNL tomorrow and starts talking about HBAR and HBAR goes to $1, like I'm probably gonna have to sell, even if I don't want to, sell all my HBAR for some time, right? Like, how can you one up something like that, right? In those moments, and so understanding the level of one upping, I guess, in the news, where we are in the cycle, right? I've been saying Q3, Q4, potentially the elections are pretty much here at this point, right? You can kind of see the candidates. And again, I'm not going to talk too much on who's voting for who or who I'm voting for. Like, that's not the point. Like, regardless of who's being voted for, you have to understand where we are in the cycle, what's being talked about, right? And if Trump were to get elected, of course, I could talk about Kamala or other, right? RFK, right? He was at the Karate Combat event, all these different candidates, right? Like what they're trying to talk about, what they're doing in the ecosystem, and depending on who gets elected, right, will ultimately determine what's going to happen, at least for the next few years with crypto, right? Trump keeps talking about how, and the reason I'm mainly talking about Trump, right? Again, I'm not going to talk about biases or whatever, is because he was the speaker, right? Kamala was supposed to speak or whatever, but she didn't. So he was really talking about how bullish he's going to be, and he is, right, on purchasing Bitcoins, doing a certain amount for the treasury, right, holding them, right. You shouldn't sell your Bitcoin, that kind of stuff, right. Again, with this news cycle, where we are in the cycle, it just feels like a blow off top is relatively soon for Bitcoin. Within the next few months, which again, none of this is new information. I've been saying this. I don't know how to one up that, which is a little bit concerning because a lot of people were talking about maybe 2025 will be when it'll all go down. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how to one up it. If you guys have any ideas on what that'll look like for one upping for Bitcoin in particular, right? I'm not necessarily talking about Hedera, but I am also talking about Hedera, right? Hedera has not decoupled from Bitcoin. If anything, Bitcoin's outperforming Hedera, right? Which no one wants to see that. Arguably, alt season hasn't really started yet. Some tokens have done well, and Solana's one of them, right? But arguably most tokens have not done that well in relation to Bitcoin yet, which arguably means alt season hasn't really started yet, right? So, and if you're new here, maybe you haven't heard any of this alpha yet that I'm dropping. So August, September, October, if you're following the chart here, this is when I am expecting for the next breakout and for the next potential top for Bitcoin. If there's a double top or whatever, I can't speak to that. I'm just literally just reading the charts and following. But your major alts, right? Your Ethereums, Solana's now, XRPs, whatever's in the top 10, top 20, right? Will top within the next few months. And then basically all your other smaller alts like Hedera, right, would be within that Q1 potentially of 2025. That's my take, right? If Bitcoin does top within the next few months, and then of course your HTS tokens, right? Your DeFi, pretty shortly after Hedera, right? So going into Q1, Q2 of 2025. NFTs, right, will fall under that mix as well. You're gonna see some crazy stuff, right? So if I'm wrong, I mean, just literally push it all back to next summer and go from there. And pretty much everything I was saying, just push it back another year. But we have to watch this, right? So let's circle back to the stochastic RSI, right? So the blue line is still under the orange light on the stochastic, right? I did say there will be a cross going into August, potentially September, right? Depending on what this looks like. It only happens about every 3 to 6 months, usually every 6 months. And they usually signal some form of a reversal. You can literally, let me just show you if you've never tracked this or you never heard me talk about this. This was a bottom. This is another cross. This was another trend reversal bottom. This was a top, and you can see it right here. I mean, I can't even make this up. So you can see how it all goes, right? That you guys are going to be able to watch, especially if you're new, you're here. You're going to be able to watch as we cover this live, right? We'll see the cross. If blue goes above the orange, that's pretty bullish. Now I'm 100% expecting Bitcoin to finally break through this massive resistance level from the old all-time highs range as well. So let me scroll back here, right? So this area right here of support, and then of course this area of resistance right here. So I am expecting this to break to the upwards before any of this downside were to break. Obviously, when we're all the way down here, we were covering it, and I was saying, look, if we break it, which I haven't seen any momentum to the downside for that to break it, but if we do, of course, we'll be met in this range, right? Over here, we can kind of see the support from the old candles a few years ago, right? So we'll most likely retrace to the 40s. But I did say I think that's less likely. But of course, none of it's ruled out just yet until we have this cross. And of course, as I said, usually this cross means once the blue is above the orange, it's more bullish. So of course, right now we're covering this because we haven't had it yet. But once the cross happens, I'm basically just going to touch on it moving forward, say, hey, we're in a bullish phase. I'm probably going to start accumulating more HTS, more NFTs again. Those are the more riskier assets, but they tend to do more just better, right? Obviously, they're more riskier, more volatile, right? But I'm seeing the trend, right? We're almost there. Obviously, if the inverse is true and we go downwards, obviously, I'm still not really in HTS currently. That's just my personal risk tolerance. But I do plan on getting back in it as soon as possible. Especially if I do see this confirmation here, which again, I've been talking about this since February. I sold most of my HTS pretty much when this confirmed right here, because I did expect quite a bit of downside for some time. Again, that's my personal risk tolerance. I did say the whole market felt super toppy at that time. And of course, a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, but if this happens, right, if we do have a Bitcoin top around November, December in the coming months following, right, about a year after this last top that we had, I will be publicly saying, hey, I'm going to sell most of my tokens. I'm going to take profit, NFTs, whatever, right? I will be talking about it publicly and saying, hey, not financial advice. You guys do what you got to do. But I will be sharing, hey, what I think is going to happen. And then, of course, we got to figure out what's going to happen through 2025, right? 2026, a lot of people are calling for a major bear market going into 2026, which could totally happen, right? If regulations, so basically Trump said 100 days into presidency, he said regulations will be basically going live, right? So I don't know how to one up that either, right? Like, how do you one up regulations, right? Like, that's such a major positive catalyst for our ecosystem, right? We need that. That could be super bullish. That could trigger a decoupling for HBAR, right? Like maybe I'll decide to get back in at some point, right? Through 2025, right? That's all up in the air, but you have to be able to right now, right? You have to figure out what your exit strategy is, right? If you have no exit strategy at all for this coming market, you are going to be waiting at the top, whatever that's going to look like, right? Because a lot of people, if you're patient right now, you didn't get shaken out right here, which I literally, if you've been listening to our show, I literally said, don't get shaken out right here. Just be patient. Just wait, right? Literally, this whole market moves within a few months. And if you waited from February and you just look at the average of these candles, essentially, we've not gone up or down, right? We're still trading sideways. Yes, we've hit 73. Yes, we've gone all the way to 53. But if you literally just listened to the last like 2, 3, 4 months, right? We're literally at the middle average range, right? So nothing has really changed too much outside of more news, more bullishness, more news that's bullish, right, on the ecosystem. So I mean, if you got shaken out, I mean, I can't really like honestly just don't listen to our shows at this point because I don't really have a lot more for you. You know, I'm really trying to share as my honest takes, my honest opinion. So again, we could break down to the 40s. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I do believe the blue will cross above the orange, and once that happens in August, again, like August or September, right? Very, very soon, you can see them converging here. Once that happens, and of course, the RSI looks strong, right? We're in the 60 range. Again, once it's above that 50 range, we're historically in a bull run. We're still strong, looks good, bouncing off support. Everything's looking strong. Obviously, when we're down here, people are going to get shaken up, people are going to get scared. But of course, if you can find where you stay up to date with the latest news and alpha, you should not be getting shaken out. You shouldn't be concerned. You should be able to stay level headed. That is how you win in this market, right? So again, once we break out the 73 range, I think I'm going to start focusing more on specific tokens, specific projects. I want to highlight those more because I don't really see a point too much talking about price action outside of when the next top happens, right? Because once this trend reversal actually happens, everything's going to be pretty bullish. And I just want to be able to cover as much opportunities as possible, right? So there's only so much I'll be able to cover in the shows. It'll be mainly more in our alpha chats, specific tokens, right? I think I'm going to dedicate more time actually in trading specifically. I spent a lot of time in February, March in particular trading, finding tokens, right? Finding alpha calls for you guys. So again, if you're not in our alpha chat, make sure to shoot me a DM. I'm looking to get more involved on Telegram too. So I'm still figuring that side out. I never really used Telegram before now. But that seems to be the place where a lot of people want to be, especially for tokens. So I'm well aware of how crazy it's going to get. We also have trading bots as well in our Discord. So again, if you are interested in our alpha, again, make sure to shoot me a DM so you are ready for whatever is to come for this next leg up for sure. And of course, if we do have a leg down, just staying level headed and understanding that is more than healthy for the price of Bitcoin. And of course, it would most likely the next leg up would have to be probably next summer. So stay level headed. Don't get shaken out of this market as well. Let me jump back to the main menu of CoinMarketCap here. All right, let me pull up Hedera as well. Let me let these load as well. I believe the Fear and Greed Index, of course. Fear and Greed Index, let me see if it actually shows a chart, because the Fear and Greed Index has an interesting chart that I want you guys to be able to see if it does show. I think it's right here. Yeah, here you go. Super fascinating. So it only shows the last like 2 years, but this is so important. So if you guys have not been tracking the crypto Fear and Greed Index, I highly recommend you do so. So basically, without looking at any charts, if you just looked at this and then just said, hey, you threw a dart, right? And you said, hey, am I making a buy here on July 7th, right? This is like max fear. Like this is like as low as like the bear market, right? This was literally the bottom of the bear market. And recently we hit it, right? And I could just go look at the chart right now, right? So what was that, July 7th? And I could pretty much guarantee you that was that was the Bitcoin 53K day. Let me go back really quick just so I could prove to you guys, make an example of it. Just let it load. It's taking a little longer to load. But that Bitcoin conference is something else, y'all. If you guys hadn't seen it yet, definitely go check it out, regardless of how you feel about Bitcoin. This space is starting to get a lot more adopted, hence the Web4 name in particular. Man, the space is getting absolutely heated up and so fast too. The mass adoption is happening, and if you blink, you're gonna miss it. So let me see if I could find looking for here. July 7th. Yep, literally. Look at that. 54 at the bottom, 54 basically within a day, within like 2 or 3 days of the actual bottom of the recent bottom, right? Look at that. 53.75. So within like $800, $700, this candle opened and closed essentially of the actual bottom. And all I did was look at the fear and greed, right? Right. I don't even have to look at anything else. So let's go back over here again. I'm just trying to share with you guys before we actually hit the top. You need to understand, because when I am calling for the top, which I did not that long ago, right? Back in March. Look at, I just assumed this was March, right? Look at that. March 10th, right? February, March, I could have told you, I was telling you guys, right? Not that I could have, I did, right? 92 extreme greed. That's incredibly high, right? We're not there right now. We're teetering around the middle. And of course, recently, which I said publicly on the show, right? I love this, right? We want to see the max sphere because those are the most important and best buying opportunity as well. So once we get back up here, I will be telling you all, hey, chances are this is the top. And yeah, I mean, whatever price H bar's at that point, obviously that's not the top because that's Bitcoin's top. H bar, I do believe, just like other tokens as well, will follow after Ethereum. Ethereum will top after Bitcoin. That's how it goes. Solana, Dogecoin, Cardano, whatever's going to be up in this top 20, right? And hopefully Hedera is, right. We'll hit a top faster, but hopefully higher, right? So all these are in the 5 to 7 to 8 billion range. Where are we at in Hedera? Let me show you guys some charts. We're at 38 at that 2.3 billion range. We're hovering around 6.5 cents. Let's pull up some trading view for Hedera as well. Friendly reminder, y'all, don't forget to like and retweet the show if you find any value out of our content here today. And we are also giving away 1,000 Karate Combat tokens to the spaces and to the live stream separately. All you got to do is like and retweet the show here today to be entered as well. All right, let me pull up TradingView for Hedera and see what's going on over here. Make sure to shoot me a follow as well if you want to stay up to date with the latest news and alpha in our ecosystem. And then if you go to my bio, you will be able to join our X community as well. All right, let me pull up the stochastic and the RSI for Hedera. So just exit them out. They have a moon phases one on here. That's super interesting. What just happened? I think I might have minimized them. Goodness. There you go. Actually, I minimized them somehow. All right. I have no idea what button I pressed. Maybe this. All right. Let me just skip the daily. I don't trade on the daily. All right, the weekly, super fascinating. Look at this. This is a new development on the, and of course, H bar doesn't follow Bitcoin 100%, right? Of course, if Bitcoin is doing well, H bar is not necessarily doing well. Of course, also newer news, H bar isn't decoupled from Bitcoin, right? So usually when H bar goes up, Bitcoin is also going up and vice versa, right? But that's not always the case. That's not always the case with our indicators as well. So look at this, newer development. And anytime I'm bearish on like price action, it doesn't mean I'm saying sell everything or leave the ecosystem. I'm not saying any of that, right? I'm literally just telling you guys on price action what I'm seeing, right? In the short term. And of course, I do believe, right, this will affect your tokens, your NFTs, and so on, right? Not 100%, not one to one, but historically it does. All right. So stochastic on the weekly. Look at this. We're actually having a cross on the from the blue down to the orange. This does not happen. Oh, well, this is the weekly. Let me just jump to the monthly so you guys can see. There shouldn't be a cross. Yeah, there should not be a cross on the monthly. I'm mainly concerned about the monthly crosses. Of course, the weekly can signal more downside, right? Which, of course, I have been saying we probably won't see a cross in H bar until after Bitcoin crosses. So if Bitcoin crosses positively, we'll probably see towards the end of August. H bar crossing positively, maybe even going into September, right? So H bar is not going to be following 100% of what Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin still has been outperforming Hedera, unfortunately, right? For those of us that have been here, that have been holding, right? That's just how it goes right now. But of course, the alts are more volatile to the upside and the downside than Bitcoin, right? Just historically, they always have been. So if Bitcoin does another 5x, H bar still could do a 10x or whatever x you think it could do, right? Okay, let's look at the RSI. Again, RSI for H bar on the monthly needs to get a bit higher, right? We're currently under the average here, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But of course, we could have a breakout, and that could change things pretty quickly over the next few months. But currently, we are in a downtrend. Bitcoin in some capacity was as well, but this gap right here is still quite large in comparison to Bitcoin's gap. So of course, it's going to take some more time before we have an actual cross on the stochastic for H bar. And I still believe that until we actually have a cross up for H bar from the blue to cross the orange, I don't see the HTS tokens pumping like crazy just yet. But once that happens, of course, we'll cover it here live, and I'll tell you guys, hey, you know what? Chances are Bitcoin, once the cross happens, H bar will be crossing within a month or so. And then, of course, the RSI is going to tell its own story. There's nothing too crazy happening in the candles. It's just following the RSI, essentially, right? You don't know what I'm talking about with the RSI. It's literally just the relative strength index, but that is the latest news on Hedera. Let me refresh my page here. Give me 1 second. Of course, make sure to join us here in the Web4 trenches, our X community here. We're going to take this more cross chain, start onboarding some more people outside of Hedera. I'm well aware that the Hedera retail ecosystem hasn't really been growing too much as of late. Of course, I can't say the same thing for Karate Combat, which technically Karate Combat has been absolutely killing it and has been onboarding a bunch of people to Hedera. Also to ETH as well, which is totally fine. But of course, we want to see more. We want to see more and more people coming together, supporting one another, pushing the ecosystem forward. So again, don't forget to like and retweet the show here today to be entered into our 1000 Karate Combat token giveaway here today. All right, let me go over to my likes. Let's cover some news as well. Feel free to request to come up to speak in the space. Hit that button on the bottom left to request to speak. And of course, if you want to come up to speak on the broadcast, shoot me a DM on X and I'll bring you up as well. Feel free to just let me know. For right now, we still have to use these custom links to bring you guys up. So just let me know if you want to come up. Happy to bring you guys up. Shout out to everyone tuning in here today. We have about 70 people in the broadcast. I don't know who's listening though, so let me know if you're here. Feel free to use that live chat. Let me know if you're here. What's up, everyone on the broadcast? What's up, everyone on the spaces as well? Welcome to the Web4 Roundtable, episode 230. We are sponsored by Gilmore Estates. Go check out what they are doing here today. Tokenizing real estate on Hedera. Massive shout out to Gilmore Estates and the GC token. Shout out to everyone on the space as well. Softy Girl. I can see you guys over here. Epic Collections, Poncho, Cantor, Gilmore Estates, Scott Ang, Crap, Fire Dog, and A Real One. Looks like someone's botting our spaces for some reason. I haven't seen that in a little bit, but no idea what that's all about. But shout out to everyone on Spaces. Shout out to everyone in the broadcast as well. We're not going anywhere. Recently, we didn't have any shows because we didn't have any premium for a couple of days there because I changed my name. So yeah, shout out to X, and they got me reinstated within a couple of days, which I was really concerned that it might take a few weeks. Some people said a few weeks, which would have been quite annoying because that would hindered the shows for a little bit there. But again, make sure to join the Web4 Trenches X community there. There's going to be some alpha shared there, and just as we continue to grow here. All right, let's get into some news. We just covered all the technical analysis on what I'm seeing over the last weekend. And of course, over the weekend, we had that Bitcoin conference as well. So a ton of speakers, as I said, Trump, Kathy Wood, Michael Saylor, a bunch of people, right? Michael Saylor, super bullish. You guys all know you guys all probably know who he is. He was calling for Bitcoin 3 to 14 million by like 2040, right? So he's obviously a super bullish on Bitcoin. One of the most interesting things before I get into more H-bar news, Bitcoin's interesting because as the store of value, right? That's the thesis. A lot of people are not talking about them flipping gold and maybe people selling their gold to buy Bitcoin, right? Like if any of that were to ever happen, right? 10 trillion is the market cap for gold. If Bitcoin, right? I've been talking about this. If Bitcoin passes 10 trillion, I do believe whatever tokens in the top 100 or sorry, in the top 10 are probably going to be around the trillion or more, right? And I don't really have a future that I envision where HBAR is not in the top 10. I see it happening. It makes a lot of sense to me. Now, if that were not to happen this cycle, if the marketing just isn't up to the standards that it needs to be, right? If not enough people are building or understand or hear it, it is possible it doesn't happen this cycle, right? But if HBAR is not, which I don't want to put it off, right? I want it to happen this cycle. I'm pushing as hard as I can to get the news out there, network with you guys, right? But But if HBAR doesn't happen this cycle in the top 10, right? We were close, right? Top 20 recently, like 19 with the BlackRock news, right? Which I don't understand. Some people said the BlackRock news wasn't real. If someone could correct me on that, last I checked, it was real. Our CACs did tokenize funds, BlackRock funds with HBAR. So not sure what that's all about. I know some people are still throwing around that it was fake or whatever and trying to like say negative things about the HBAR Foundation. Not sure where that's coming from, but last I checked, it was real news. It was just misinformation. I guess it was skewed incorrectly by like CoinDesk and Cointelegraph or whatever news shows they were. I think that's what they were called. But yeah, super interesting. So going back on Bitcoin here, Bitcoin, very, very interesting as a store of value, right? I think the thesis makes a lot of sense for the digital energy, all that kind of stuff, right? But in terms of scalability, right, that was basically the main conversation that was being had outside of like just talking about how bullish they were, right? They're just talking about the Lightning Network, right? Like they were talking about how it's going to be scalable and how all these people are going to be able to use it, right? Like, but I've heard security issues, right? The issues for the Lightning Network being the reason why it won't be mass adopted. So I can't really speak on it, right? I gotta do more research. I am gonna study more on it. If you're a developer here in Hedera and you're familiar with the Lightning Network, I would love to have a conversation in the near future as to why either the Lightning Network will succeed, will it won't succeed, because basically I mean, it sounds like it's contingent on the Lightning Network, whether Bitcoin is going to be mass adopted in terms of transactions, right? Microtransactions, right? That was the big thing, right? That a lot of people were never concerned about Bitcoin being able to store value or purchase it, right? The main concern has always been really the microtransactions aspect, right? To be able to scale Bitcoin, right? So very, very interesting. That's still the topic of conversation to this day for Bitcoin, right? So super exciting to hear the what is it called, the politics side, right? Getting more bullish on crypto, mass adopting crypto as well, integrating crypto, having more regulations. But I did say, right, and I stand firm with this. I don't see a world where you can really one up, like let's just say Trump were to get elected, right? And again, I'm not sitting here saying, hey, Trump should get elected, Trump should get elected, RFK, whoever, right? Like that's not the why I'm explaining this. If you're just tuning in, I'm just sharing, hey, look, if Trump is elected, he's talking about instating regulations within the first 100 days. And he's talking if he even does any of that, right? But if he's just saying it and people are waiting on that, I don't know how much higher the market could go at that point, because it's basically going to start getting priced in sooner than later. And people are going to be like, okay, like what's next, right? The U.S. government or whoever the reserve or the treasury, right, is buying Bitcoin. Like, how do you get more bullish than that? I don't know. So if you guys have any ideas, you guys let me know. Outside of like a massive Black Swan event, outside of a massive decoupling event for Hedera, whatever, right? Like you guys let me know what you think could one up that. But I think that would mark a top. So again, it's all lining up Q3, Q4 of this year. I do still see it happening. I did say, a lot of you guys might not remember this, I did say the top for the cycle most likely will be a 78,000 Bitcoin. It could go way higher, obviously. If we go into the 140,000 range, that would make a lot of sense as well. But it's really going to be between there. I don't know if we see like 2 to 300K. I know some people are throwing some pretty crazy predictions out there, which could happen. The higher it goes, the better. I'd want it to go as high as possible, because all your alts are going to go even crazier, arguably. So I would love to see it go as high as possible, but I'm not a moon boy, right? I'm always going to give it to you straight. What I think is most likely going to happen, and just stay level headed, right? If we're going to enter another bear market in 2025 or 2026, I'm also going to be real with you guys, right? And let you know, hey, this is what I see is happening. This is where the market's heading. Even if we get regulations, right, doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. We all know, especially since we're here in Hedera, we know that regulations, we know that the enterprises, which I still believe is going to be what causes mass adoption. I don't still believe that the memes is what's going to do it on ETH or Solana or wherever else. Obviously, Dogecoin was a what do you call it, like a counter narrative to that, right? That is what causes a lot of mass adoption, but it is going to have to basically one up Dogecoin at this point, right? Which again, we saw, and a perfect example, I talked about Elon Musk earlier, right? How do we one up something to that extent? I don't know what that's going to look like, but uh, basically once the memes are like at the forefront and Bitcoin's already on a downtrend, Ethereum's on a downtrend, all your main tokens are on a downtrend, but the memes are going absolutely crazy. That is like your final time essentially in the market to be taking your profits. Because basically once there's meme mania and it's at the peaks, right? You guys saw it, right? Here's a perfect example. February, March, right? Here in Hedera, if you were in HTS tokens, there was a lot of mania happening, right? There was new tokens being made every hour, essentially, right? We have a Discord bot. We have a couple of them that showcase new token liquidity pools and when tokens are created, that kind of stuff, right? I was able to just kind of track what was happening, right? There were about a dozen tokens or so a day being launched on Hedera, right? Like that, obviously, that's not happening right now. But when the mania is happening, and unfortunately, scammers are going to continue to get away with it if you just throw your money into random tokens, which I mean, let's be honest, most people are still doing. I don't really do it personally. I have done it here and there, but most of them go to zero, so I don't even touch most of them. But I know most people are still jumping on random tokens, whatever. And of course, when that hype and mania is at its peak, when that finishes, that is what leads into basically a bear market or into a recovery phase, which basically we're seeing right now, right? February, March, a few months ago, not that long ago, 4 or 5 months ago at this point. That's what we saw, right? Just clear as day. If you were here at that time, if you're like super new into the crypto market, all I can say is just buy at the lows, whatever that looks like for you, and just hold. Wait. Don't worry about trading. Most people are going to get absolutely wrecked. Even when everything's up only, most people are still going to get wrecked because at the end of the day, you have to keep your emotions in check, right? If you're feeling FOMO, you're feeling like you're missing out, you feel like you're too late, whatever. Chances are maybe you are too late, first of all, and you just have to wait for the next play, right? And stay up to date with the latest news, content. Stay tune into the shows, right? Get in the alpha chats, right? Just learn from other people, right? Your homework essentially is if you don't know what's going on or you're newer to the game, you have a ton of homework, right? You have to study so much. There's people on here. Here's the other thing, right? Don't get too concerned about comparing yourself to anyone else in this market, right? Your bag might look completely different to someone else's bag. And guess what? Most people, whenever they make posts about their wins or whatever, that's probably the only win they got out of like 10 losses. So don't even focus on anyone posting their 10x that they got or whatever. Like that was probably the only 10x they've ever gotten, right? Like don't focus on that. No one ever really posts any losses that they do, right? I know I don't almost ever, right? I've taken plenty of losses, right? But what I do is I just make sure I trade so little so that I stop falling into those statistics, right? Because most people are way over trading. Literally buy into your convictions, hopefully and ideally when they're low, and literally just sit on them. Be patient. And if you can sell at a 2, 3, whatever X, right, that is in your risk tolerance, that's how you continue winning. Once you get shaken out, it's so hard to get back into the game. And I'm speaking from experience as well. So again, don't get shaken out. Stay level headed. Stay up to date with the latest news. Alpha, if you got to join some alpha chats, shoot me a DM. Happy to get you involved, get you plugged in here in Hedera. I'm looking to expand a little bit into some other chains as well, but I'm really bullish on Hedera, and I think Hedera has a lot of massive upside. Obviously, we got to get more marketing under wraps here. We got to get our marketing in line. Of course, we had a new. Let me actually pull it up. I want to share. I want to share it with you guys. Give me 1 second to pull it up here. But we did have a new karate combat event, um, karate combat commercial. So let me see if I can find it here shortly. But feel free to read this post here on X before I jump to the karate combat new commercial. If you guys didn't know already, basically, here, let me just read it really quick. H bar may be the real reason why many alts are being held down, right? Up 90% from January 2023 lows, right? Basically, the last low. It's because people are waiting, have been accumulating as much as possible for the last year and a half, preparing for the biggest move up they'll ever see. And that's what I've been saying, right? Again, Q3, Q4, whatever this next move is going to look like, especially if it marks the next top. Let me scroll up, right? Whatever this is going to look like, right, for Hedera, even if the top's in the 30 cent or 50 cent, whatever, I don't know. No one knows because this hasn't happened before, right? We didn't have DeFi, we didn't have NFTs, we didn't have anything essentially, and we hit what we hit in the past. Now, did we have as many tokens out in what is it called? Just public, right? Did we have as many tokens out? No, we didn't. But there's a lot more catalysts out currently for Hedera that I think could see us potentially surpass our last all-time high, right? Which again, 78 cent H bar. I've been saying that for about 6 months now, maybe more than that. Uh, that is surpassing our last all-time high. That would put us at like 30 to 40 billion market cap. Like I think that's pretty solid for Hedera this cycle. If we go way higher than that, I would not be complaining. I'll be more than happy to sit up here. I'll be more than happy to tell you guys I was wrong. I want to see H bar go into multiple dollars. I don't see why it wouldn't go that high. But I'm also sharing with you guys, hey, this is my realistic, reasonable expectation, and I'll most likely be taking most of my profits around that level way before we hit a dollar. But that's just my personal risk tolerance. If I'm wrong, you guys are more than welcome to comment, rub it in my face, tag me, let me know that I was wrong on all that as well. We got to get Diffuse Labs up in the show as well. We have an interview coming up in about a week with Skelly Bets as well. Just any new builders, right? Any new platforms. Arguably, most of the projects that you probably invested in, most of the projects and tokens that you were excited in, basically the last 2 years, 90 to 95% of them have gone to zero. If you've been here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the few that have stuck around are continuing to build, even if they've rebranded, even if they've continued to push forward in different ways, they're still here, right? But there's very, very few. I can count on maybe 2, 3 hands of projects that have been here for about 2 years, 3 years, basically as long as I've been here, or a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, in that range. So this one seems to be one of them. I do want to just kind of continue to network, continue to see where these platforms are going. And yeah, Hedera's not slowing down at all. Retail's not slowing down. We're seeing more and more people voting on Karate Combat, which only gives us more publicity, right? And we just have to push it as hard as possible, right? Deloitte and Hashgraph innovate together, continuing to pivotal, accelerating adoption of Web3 technologies, right? We have Deloitte, Hyundai, with well, who was the other one, right? WiseKey with SpaceX, right? Like, there's so many bullish companies I could keep listing more and more, right? Like, I think I'll kind of tone back a little bit of these announcements. And I do, especially once things start getting really crazy, people are going to stop caring a lot more about these, and they're just going to focus on price action, focus on new launches, new tokens, which I see projects like this come into play, which this is what we're going to more focus on, retail use cases, because that's been the heart and soul, right? That's been the lifeblood of our shows in the last year, is highlighting, focusing on real retail use cases. And pretty much every single founder, almost every single founder in Hedera that has stuck around, we have interviewed them on our show thus far. So if you haven't listened to all of our interviews, feel free to just scroll back through my account, or if there's any interviews you want to tune back into, feel free to just let me know. I have all of them saved as well. Bunch of you guys tuned in, a bunch of you guys invested in these founders as well, and that makes me super happy, because that shows that our ecosystem is still thriving, still continuing to iterate. Karate is not an entertaining sport. If you guys missed the last event, you guys could see how just entertaining Karate Combat was. Absolutely phenomenal. Only LARPing. Shout out to you, brother, if you're listening. Always continuing to iterate, continuing to take it to the next level with these venues, and with more and more people showing up. It's just becoming the place to be in Web3, clearly. And it's built with the mat, you guys can see, built on Hedera publicly here as well. Let me pause it before we move. Absolutely incredible, phenomenal work all around. And that's what we need to see more and more in Hedera. So give me 1 second. Let me pull up the Karate Combat event. We hit 4.6 million. Let me just share the tab here. All right, 4.6 million views on the last event. And we're talking a few days ago, 5 days ago, right? Absolutely phenomenal. Let me see if I can find, I don't remember where the Hedera commercial was off the top of my head. I was looking it up. Oh my gosh, I don't remember where it was. Okay. And then we have RFK Jr. up on the stage as well. If I can't find it, that's okay. And also shout out to Sam Alvey. I yeah, I put a lot of tokens on him in particular. I just had a feeling, right? He did so well in the first Karate Combat event that I watched. And I just had a feeling, he would take this one on the rematch, and he did not disappoint. So massive shout out to him. I'm going to start revealing my picks more publicly going into the next Karate Combat events. I want to start getting more involved with Karate Combat. We interviewed Only LARPing a few months back. Postmaster, of course, he's been going. He went to this event as well. So shout out to Postmaster as well. If you're listening live, brother, appreciate you. Bunch of H Barbarians are starting to go to the events, and I want to start getting in on the delegations as well. I'll let you guys know my account if you're interested in delegating tokens as well. My last few picks have been pretty solid, so yeah, I'm excited to share more and talk about karate combat a lot more. But not sure if I could find the Hedera commercial off the top of my head. I don't remember where it is. Oh my gosh, I thought it was around the 3 hour mark, but maybe it wasn't. But I thought the commercial was actually pretty well done. Um, let's see if I could find it. I just can't remember where it was. Okay, let me see if they posted it somewhere. If not, then that's okay. We'll just talk a little bit more about karate combat. Before we start wrapping up the show, again, since we are talking about karate combat today, let's do a karate combat giveaway, karate token giveaway. We're going to give away 1,000 karate combat tokens to the space and to the broadcast. All you got to do is like and retweet the show here today on the spaces, and of course on the broadcast as well. All right, let's see here. Here, let's just do this one. Then I'll find the Hedera commercial tomorrow for you guys. All right, let me turn the audio on so you guys can actually track. Here, let me remove the screen and then let me bring it right back up. For some reason, StreamYard wants me to disconnect and connect it to give you guys audio. Right, give me 1 second. Make sure the audio is going. There you go. Audio is on. Yeah, and upcoming in the future karate combat events, I do want to start live streaming them as well. You guys should be able to hear it. Yeah.
The heart that they put into this is extraordinary. I gotta ask, what do you think about the viewing perspective and being able to actually see down into the pit and see these guys fight? I think this is the most exciting sporting event I've ever been at. Because the perspective.
Oh, I pulled up the wrong account. There you go.
The heart that they put into this is extraordinary. I gotta ask, what do you think about the viewing perspective and being able to actually see down into the pit and see these guys fight? I think this is the most exciting sporting event I've ever been at. Because the perspective and how close you are to the fighters.
Yeah, I definitely got to make it out to one of those. Or mute myself. Definitely need to make it out to one of these karate combat events, though. They look absolutely crazy. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what this event comes out to. I mean, we're at, I think last I checked, we're at like 100 and gosh, we're at like 130,000, I think, unique voters. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And that's, what was it, March? I think March we were at like 50,000 or 60,000. So we're almost like a 2x in the last 3 or 4 months. So yeah, I mean, in the end of the year, if we're at like 250,000 going into that, or if not higher, right? I did say, right, about a year from March of last year going into March next year, I did say we'll probably be around that 500,000 going into 1 million mark. I know it's a big prediction, but that's just so many more eyes on Hedera. And if you're in Hedera, you're just not liking, retweeting the karate combat events, commenting on them. Again, I don't really care too much which tokens you're buying in the ecosystem. That's not my point. I'm not giving you guys financial advice, right? But if you're going to get involved with karate combat, right, obviously purchasing the tokens, voting, right, participating in it, right, again, regardless of price action, just getting involved, getting your feet wet, onboarding people to it. It is onboarding people at the end of the day to Hedera, right? And that's what matters at the end of the day, right? Of course, price action tokenomics, right? We could talk about that all day. We could talk about where the token might be heading, whatever, right? But I think that's a whole separate conversation, right? At the end of the day, this is such a massive publicity play here for Hedera, and we shouldn't understate that, right? So don't miss that. Get involved. Download the app, right? Karate Combat app. It's on all your smart devices right on the App Store. So go play it. Go jump in. Go vote, right? You can't lose anything in terms of your tokens, right? You can't lose it. Obviously, tokens can go up or down in value. But that's not the conversation, right? The conversation is getting involved, onboarding, right? Getting people to see the mat, getting people to see the fights, right? And the fights are awesome. I mean, if you guys haven't seen them yet, right? Built on Hedera, is now here. Let's see. Why is it not? There you go. We covered it on Wednesday, I believe, in our show. But of course, Built on Hedera is now on the map. You can see Karate Token. I think Saucer Swap was on here. Maybe it's on this side. But yeah, massive, massive opportunity for Hedera here. I cannot understate that. I can't state that any clearer, you know? All right. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in here today. We're going to cover more HBAR related, more cross chain news here. If you find any value out of our content, again, don't forget to like and retweet the show here today. Today's show is sponsored by at Gilmore_Estates. Go check out the GC token. They are tokenizing real estate here on Hedera. I appreciate them for sponsoring our show here today on Mondays and Wednesdays. Since we didn't have a show, we pushed it to the Tuesday slot. We have more sponsors in the pipeline coming up in August. I'm super excited to share more with you all. Massive shout out to our sponsors. Massive shout out to everyone tuning in here today. Don't forget to like and retweet. Best way to support our platform, support our show here today. We've been doing it for almost a year. We're coming up on a year in September. I want to do something really, really special with the HBAR community around that time. And I'm really excited to continue to just share alpha, share feedback here in the ecosystem. Let me know what you guys think of the show here as well. And best way to support, again, like and retweet our show here today. We're going to continue to talk about technical analysis and the latest tokens here on the show, the latest NFTs and the latest opportunities as the sentiment recovers, as the ecosystem gets more and more hyped and excited here today. So again, if you don't want to miss out, make sure to set your reminders Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. EST, the place to be in Web3 here at the Web4 Roundtable. All right, you guys, don't forget to join our X community as well to help guide the future of our show here today and stay up to date with the latest news and alpha. Much love, you guys, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in here today. It's been the Web4 Roundtable, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for our Wednesday show at 5 p.m. EST, the place to be in Web3. Much love, you guys. Peace.